Okay, so one of the key things that I find that prevents real estate investors to actually scale is having a clear path for a lead. Now, I'm going to break down all the stages that we take a property seller lead, all the way from a new seller lead, all the way through closing or abandoning, or even a lost deal. And I'm just going to give you a really high overview of what our stages are and kind of what they mean. And hopefully, this helps you as a real estate investor scale from a solo real estate investor to having a team that can help you process these leads. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Joel Ponte, and I help real estate investors, brokers, agents scale with off market motivated seller leads and making sure that we're wholesaling, novating, making sure that we are profiting from these deals and working less. So the first stage in our process, and by the way, this is a preview of what our CRM looks like. Um, the first stage is new seller contact. So obviously in this stage, what we're looking to do is engage with that new seller lead as fast as possible. You want to be able to call these leads within 5 minutes. So the way that we do it and we manage it is our closers are the first ones to call every new seller lead. We don't have like lead managers that overfilter leads. So a new seller lead comes in, we want to call them within 5 minutes. But if for some reason the closer is busy, which is often the case, they may be on the phone with somebody else. At the fourth minute, the coordinator is the one that actually reaches out. And that coordinator tries to go ahead and book an appointment. Now, after that, whenever they respond, they reply to a text message, an email, or they call in, they get moved over to the active seller lead bucket. The active seller lead bucket is where we know that you've responded, we've acknowledged it, and we get a AI bot to try and schedule them. As of this date, we have AI text bot and we have voice AI bot as well. And really, the ultimate goal is to get them to book an appointment or just start negotiations with a closer. So these first two stages, both the closer and the coordinators are calling them, and each of these stages has your own dialer. So we're dialing new leads all the time. We're dialing people that have responded but are yet to start negotiation. Once they start negotiation here, that's where the closers are in active conversation, right? And out of that negotiation, we want to make sure that the seller either, obviously if we can get a lay down contract, we do that. If for some reason their numbers are really off, we go ahead and try to end the conversation a good no, asking them for pictures. Hey, Mr. Seller, maybe I'm missing something. They send us some pictures to kind of continue the conversation and the negotiation, or we get them to give us a counter, meaning, hey, we're here, but if I can get something to you approved, where would you need to be at? How close can you get to that? And so based on the counter, we may approve that, or we may just decide to not move forward with it, right? And so some of these are just rejected. So every single one of these stages has a set of tasks or automations to help the lead, push through to either essentially an unqualified lead, abandoning it, or closing it. So offer rejected is seeking a renegotiation. We're seeking a renegotiation, right? Appointment no show. A lot of these seller appointments that get booked online, they just don't show at all. Wholesale. We got a lot of wholesalers that want to do deals with us. We only do deals with our community and our members, but don't want our closers essentially being loaded with wholesale deals that we can't control. Obviously, there's people that their entire business model is about, saving with wholesalers. And what I've found through experience is that if the wholesaler doesn't have the proper paperwork from the start and doesn't set the right expectations from the start, and maybe it's not even working with the right type of title company, then it just ends up being kind of a waste of time for everybody. So that's why we only work with members in our community. That timing, that's when somebody says, hey, like, I'm either listed or like you just want to follow up in 2 months for whatever reason. And cold is like we want to follow up in 2 weeks. They're both a little bit the same, meaning in terms of like long-term nurture sequences. Now, after those, right, it's like the deals that actually get under contract, they move over to title due diligence. So in title due diligence, what we found is we don't want to waste our time with contracts that are probably never going to clear with title, or like start spending money on contracts that are yet to get a title commitment. So we want to wait for that title commitment, get the loan payoffs, like make sure that this is a closable deal. And so that's why we get a title due diligence. And that's why in our contracts, we put safety cushions in terms of dates, and good contingency periods, because we don't want to start spending an inspection and pictures and all these efforts without making sure that the title is going to come back clear. And in this business, you're going to get a lot of deals that just fall through to the title. Field due diligence. So this is about getting all the pictures, getting an inspection report if the house is occupied. So in this case, we get a Matterport, an inspection report, and pictures if it's occupied. If it's vacant, we simply get pictures for it. Okay. And then dispositions pricing. This is when we get the field information, right? The pictures, the inspection. We look at the pictures, we look at the market, we re-underwrite the deal. We have to underwrite the deal a couple times. And at that point, we go ahead and start marketing, or if we decide to kill the deal, we may do that or try to renegotiate it. Once it's, we give, I give the green light, like here's the price, here's where we're at, here's the pictures we're going to pick for the listing, because 90% of them were actually novating nowadays. And the automations for listing in progress. So the coordinator, what they do is at this point, they set up the buyer agent packet that gets sent out completely automated. Whenever somebody calls in, it has all the information that they would need to make a purchase decision, or at least, make a decision if they want to go take a look at it. Now in listed stage, we're just receiving buyer and buyer agent inquiries. Stale listing, this is for like if a listing is just like sitting stale and we've reduced it, and essentially we just need to renegotiate or cancel. So that's what that's about. It's not used always, but it is something that's part of this business. The inspection sale pending. So whenever we have a property that's under contract to sell, they're going to do their inspection. They're probably going to want to renegotiate something. And so we leave it here, inspection sale pending, just to wait till we get all of their feedback from their inspection. Even if I did my own inspection, typically buyers want to get their own inspection. Sometimes they'll take hours, but most of the times they don't. And then at that point, if there was something that was not conveyed, something that was not cleared up or stated, we renegotiate with the seller if need be. Then we're waiting on loan approval, whether it's a hard money loan or a Fannie Mae, FHA, conventional. And then we're just waiting on clear to close. So these are the stages. Then after clear to close, we move it to close one, meaning that it's the deal's done. And if, for example, LE they stop answering to us, that would go to lost. If, for example, time runs out of the follow-ups, like over a year or something, or like all the numbers are bad, you just don't want to like keep spending money on follow-ups that are just more than 1 year or so, or like they're just spam leads. So we go ahead and move them over to abandon, or if somebody says do not call me, do not contact me, they get moved here. And so whatever the process that you have in your business, you need clear stages. And the cool thing about this is that you can delegate, because if you have every lead in a single stage, there could be one person that's accountable for that stage, and you can give them guidance as to what's supposed to be so that you can work less. So I hope you enjoy this video. All I ask is for you to share with your friends if you found this useful, if they're in the real estate wholesale space. Hopefully, this gives you a little bit of a guide as to what are the real or some of the possible stages to implement in your business. Feel free to check out some other resources below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless.